Ever started a build just messing around with the mechanic and it turned out to melt the endgame? Well, that's what happened here. I tried out a new unique item specifically designed for a Summon Skeleton Rogue build, and what started out as a quirky test run turned into a corruption melting poison leeching monster. Yes, that's a lot of poison stacks, and yes, that's inflicted by our minions. All of the gameplay in this video is with 528 corruption, but can be pushed much higher if you feel like it. Stick around because I'll show you every single piece of the puzzle, and trust me, this isn't your grandma's minion build. Now today, let's live on the edge and start off with some Aberrant footage. As you can see, our minions can face tank basically all of his attacks and take most of the heat. So what we need to do is to be mobile and spawn zombies that explode on him, giving us ward in the process. We have quite a lot of poison and armor shred stacks on him at any given time, as well as marking him for death, giving him 25% reduction to all resistances. And the best thing about this is that our skeleton rogues are nearly immortal, as they have an insane health leech. Now you'll see here that the kill threshold of 16% really helps, as he dies as soon as he reaches 16% health. More on that later. Here's Abomination on 528 corruption, melting away by the swords of our saucy little skeleton rogues. And just when you think it's over, the Harbinger enters the chat. Spoiler, it doesn't go well for him either. As you can see, our character can also take a punch, even though we usually don't need to take that many in a row, as our minions take most of the aggro. And just as with Aberrant on 16% health, this fella is erased. So if you've ever dreamed of watching bosses disappear while you sip your coffee, this build might just be for you. And if you're already convinced by now, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and if you're not, buckle up for the continuation as we delve into more of its mechanics and setup. Let's start with the core of it all, Summon Skeleton. And here's the twist already, we don't want all the skeletons, we only want the rogues, just the stabby, fast attacking ones. These guys apply poison faster than YouTubers like me rush to say like and subscribe, and they heal so quickly you basically never see their health bar move. We spec into the nodes that add the rogues and remove the others. Warriors, archers, thank you for your service, but we're going in another direction. We do this because the rogues are the only ones who benefit from the important unique item we're building with. Don't worry, we'll get to the madness soon. We don't want enemies to touch us, ever, so we bring in a single bone golem. We spec into the nodes that buff the golem more when we only have one of them, and increase its size and threat generation. This guy becomes a walking wall that holds enemy attention while the rogues do their dirty work behind the scenes. The tankiness of the golem is especially important at high corruption and hardcore, where staying alive is 90% of the game. Now let's boost our minions into overdrive with Dreadshake. We grab Egoism, where the targeted minion always crits, and Blind Fury, giving 40% increased attack speed. The downside to Blind Fury doesn't matter. If you always crit, reduced crit chance means nothing. But we're not done. The real juice comes from Vile Ghast, which converts Dreadshade's necrotic damage buffs into poison and gives 5% increased poison chance per added necrotic damage from the skill tree. This node is a massive poison boost for all our minions. Let's crank it up even further. We go for Aura of Decay. The great thing about this skill is that it can buff our minions' poison damage greatly through the Infectious Bones node, and their chance to poison on hit with a Plague Bearers node. Further, it reduces the enemy's poison resistance by 15% through the Vulnerability node, before we get to the icing on the cake, Fume Weaver. This node gives the enemies minus 1% poison resistance per intelligence, and since we spec heavily into our intelligence and end up at 100, this alone gives 100% increased poison resistance for our enemies. Yeah, 100%. That's basically deleting their health bar before they even play the game. Now, if you've enjoyed this video so far, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It's also possible to join the channel as a member with exclusive perks, and this is the ultimate way to support me as a creator. Thank you for all your support, I highly appreciate it. Volatile Zombie isn't just flavor, it's actually vital to the build. Why? Each explosion gives ward with a vital ward node. Their explosion has a good chance to poison on hit with the Army of Rot node. They do more damage to bosses and rares with the Ravenous node. And most importantly, they have a 16% kill threshold with the Pull of the Grave node. This means that any enemy under 16% health, boom, gone. It's perfect for endgame bosses. And since the zombies constantly explode, they also gives us skeleton Vanguards via the Dark Retribution passive node, giving a chance to summon these little fellas whenever a minion dies. We usually have our maximum limit of 3 at any given time, and these little rascals are good for additional damage and taking aggro from enemies. We also have a 10% chance to mark a nearby enemy for death whenever one of our zombies or other minions die. This is quite effective for clearing and highly effective for bosses, as they will be constantly marked, reducing all of their resistances by 25%. Now let's look at the item that ties all of this together, the Lethal Concentration Spear. This spear gives us a good amount of minion damage as well as +3 levels to our Summon Skeleton skill now that it has a throwing tag on it. But the real value lies in two other affixes. The first one being that the spear applies our own character's increased poison damage at between 150 to 210% effectiveness. For our spear, we've managed to get a roll of 187% effectiveness, which means that all our own increased poison damage is multiplied by this for our skeleton rogues. And the implicit stat of the spear alone gives us 102% increased poison damage, which will amount to 293% increased poison damage for our skeleton rogues just from this particular stat. Further, it also makes them leech 8% of the poison damage they do as health. Let me repeat that. Your rogues are healing for 8% of every dot tick they apply, so yeah, they don't ever die really. They also get additional health leech through the Ribbons of Blood unique ring that we use, and also get the buff of never taking critical hits as well as added melee physical damage. This is the only unique item in the build that can't drop randomly or be forced with the Rune of Ascents, as this ring has a 50% chance to drop when defeating the Abomination boss only. With all the health leech our skeleton rogues get, we build them into complete powerhouses, and the Hollow Finger unique ring let us have an additional skeleton in our troop as well. For single targets we reach hundreds of poison stacks, which amount to crazy damage. In addition to this, our minions have good armor shred primarily through the points invested in the Necromancer passive node Aegis Fall. And since our minions do a lot of physical damage as well with their hits, the armor shred is very effective for doing even more damage. This is a hybrid ward and health build. We have a decent combined idle pool of around 5000, and when we start using Summon Volatile Zombie, the ward goes much higher due to the ward buffs we have spec'd into when they explode. Our armor is also something I'm happy with, given that the Necromancer doesn't really have access to much armor or ways of increasing it naturally. The resistances are also decent, and I've got no major concerns with them. You could obviously cap all of them if you shuffle around some stats on your gear. Our 61% increased movement speed is good, especially considering the fact that the Necromancer doesn't have access to any sources of movement speed or haste in the passive trees. Now the final thing worth mentioning is our possibly biggest defense mechanism of them all, our Golem. We go for one Golem with as much size and threat generation as possible, meaning it takes more or less all of the aggro from our enemies. This way we can stand behind the scenes doing our thing and being safe for most of the time. Especially for hardcore and high corruption, this is invaluable. As for leveling, most of the skills for the final build are available from early on. Start by speccing into Summon Skeleton, then Summon Bone Golem. Then go for Summon Volatile Zombie, then Dreadshade, and finally Aura of Decay. The good thing about this is that you don't need Dreadshade or Aura of Decay for this build to be a powerhouse during the campaign and early endgame, so unlocking Dreadshade and Aura of Decay at a late stage is of no consequence. If this build doesn't convince you that poison minions are back in style, I don't know what will. Hit the subscribe button if you want more busted builds like this, and give the video a like if you found it helpful. And if you really want to support the channel, consider joining as a member with exclusive perks. It means the world to me. And hey, if you like this one, the playlist on screen is packed with my other last Epoch builds, so go ahead and click on that.